Well, my name is Jeff Short, and today is the day after the 2018 March for Life in Washington, D.C. Now, unfortunately, this year I wasn't able to attend the March for Life, but I wanted to recall some of the events from last year because many of the same things happen every year, and I wanted to just give a sort of a recap of my experience and maybe encourage some of you to attend the March for Life this coming next year in 2019. I am planning to come either 2019 or 2020. I wanted to go this year, but I decided I'd just wait another year. And I wanted to just take some time to recall some of the experiences I had last year at the March for Life. Maybe this would spark an interest in you to actually attend the March for Life also one of these coming years. Well, the first thing that I decided to do was to drive there, and I decided to go on a Thursday night, actually Friday morning, I should say. The march is on a Friday usually, and last year it was on a Friday, as it always is, and I decided to head out sometime in the middle of the night, about maybe 4 or 5 o'clock, because it was going to take about 7 hours to get down to Washington, D.C. from New York State in the area just south of Buffalo. So I decided I'd go about 5 o'clock, and if it took 6, 7 hours, I'd get in there just about the time the March for Life started. Well, as I began to think about that, I said, I better go a little bit earlier than that, just in case there might be any trouble or there might be some problems on the road. The weather was not so good when I left. It was snowing. The roads were kind of slick. And so I decided that I was going to leave around 3 a.m., which is very early. It's just in the middle of the night, totally in the middle of the night. But I said, hey, I want to get down there. I want to get everything ready. So I left about 3 a.m. and I actually got down there about 9:30, about 9 or 9:30. And that worked out great because then I could check into the hotel, find my hotel. I'd never been there before. And I could also find parking, which is a major problem in Washington, D.C. So if you go, you have to realize that even if you have some place to go, you may not be able to find affordable parking. But I found a spot on the street, and I was able to park my car. I was able to get my luggage and baggage into my hotel room. And then, on top of that, it was not snowing in Washington, D.C. The weather was a little bit better as far as temperature-wise. It's still windy and pretty cold wind. But I decided then to ride my bike. I had brought my bike along, and just in case the weather was convenient for that, and I decided, I'll ride the bike. So I checked in the hotel between 9:30, got myself all settled, and then I decided I was going to, about 10 o'clock, pedal out on my bike to the Washington Monument, which was approximately where the March for Life was going to be, the Rally for Life, which started at about noon or 11:30 even. So I took off about 10 o'clock, got over there about 10:30, and they were having a rock concert. They were having a pro-life Christian youth rock concert at the site of the March for Rally for Life, which I was surprised. I was surprised that there was a concert going on at that time. I could hear the music from a long distance, about a half a mile away. I could hear the bass and the beat and the drums. Couldn't hear the words, but so I locked my bike up around the Washington Monument, that tall structure, and there were thousands of people out there already milling around 11 o'clock. Crowds started to really form. This concert was going. And then they stopped, I think about 11:30 or so, stopped playing. So I imagine that there were a lot of young people out there. I imagine that there were a lot of youth, and that they had gone to the March for Life and specifically had gone to that Rally for Life concert, youth concert that was scheduled ahead of the rally. And so I walked around and I got some good pictures, I got some video, and then the Rally for Life started. I think that was around noon. And unfortunately, I could not hear what was being said because I was so far back. I must have been a half a mile, back from the platform. Could not see a thing. There were Jumbotron monitors up on the stage, but I could not hardly see those monitors. They were almost like a little picture to me way back where I was in the crowd. So there were hundreds of thousands of people at the Rally for Life that started around 12 noon. But unfortunately, I could not hear what they were saying. I could not see the people actually on the platform, which is too bad. I don't know what it was like in 2018 this year, but last year it was pretty bad as far as actually viewing what was taking place, hearing what was being said. And it was okay for the people, say, within the first maybe 50 yards of the platform or even 100 yards from the platform. But if you were out there where most people were, you didn't hear anything. You could see what was going. You could see a little bit of activity going on the stage, but you could not actually make out who was talking or who was speaking, who was coming next to speak. It was just totally impossible to hear or to actually see, even with the big Jumbotron television monitors on the sides of the stage. So that was a little bit discouraging that you go all that way, you travel all that way, hundreds of miles, to go to the March for Life and the Rally for Life, and you cannot hear what is being said. And what it could have been corrected. It could have been simply they could have tested this system out, and they could have seen and heard with their own eyes and ears that this system that they had in place didn't work. So they could have put larger speakers, or they could have run multiple speakers further back into the crowd. That would have cleared it up. I've seen this happen at different events where you just run speakers back further into the crowd and so that everyone can hear. Well, there weren't many other speakers. There were big electronic speakers in front, but when you come back further, there weren't any. So that was too bad because a lot of people missed out on what was taking place up front. But that encourages people to walk around a lot, and it encourages people to go forward as far as you could go to see if you could hear and see what's going on. Unfortunately, another obstacle was in the way of people wanting to participate in the March for Life, and that was the police, the DC police, had set up a barrier and sort of like a little mini check-in tent that was in front of the entire staging area. So this, I don't know if it was canvas or what it was, but it was a white tent, I guess, that would keep the police from getting rained upon if it were raining out there. So their electronic surveillance equipment and the way they check people when they come into the staging area, that might have gotten damaged, so that they put these tents up. So the tents were in front of the staging area. So if you're further back, which 90% of everyone was, you couldn't see through the staging. You couldn't see to the staging area because of the security tents and the security apparatus in front of you. So that was another thing that discouraged people from just going forward until they could hear. So you're pretty much stuck unless you were in the original immediate staging area where you could then stand, but you'd have to go through the metal detectors and you'd have to go through the police security. Unless you got into that area early enough, you were stuck outside of that immediate in front of the stage area, and then you had to look through these security tents and the police checkout thing. So that really hurt a lot of visibility incredibly. That was, you had to go way far back, and you still couldn't see the stage. So those were some big logistical problems that really, hopefully in 2018, that was solved. I haven't talked with anyone. Like I said, it's only a day after 2018 March for Life. I'll have to look at the video. I'll have to talk to people and see if that problem of the people in the further back seeing and hearing, see if that was solved in 2018. Hopefully it was. Hopefully it was. That would more encourage people to come if they could actually see and hear what was taking place on the stage. Another observation, I was greatly shocked to realize that most of the people, most of the participants in the Rally for Life and the March for Life are under 30. I was surprised. I was thinking that when you talk and you hear pro-life events, and when you talk and you hear people on television defending pro-life and organizing pro-life events and everything, they're usually middle-aged. They're usually 30 to 60. They're usually that area where they're homemakers, they're mothers, they're fathers. You get some businessmen, politicians. It's usually some person who are middle-aged or older who are actually organizing and defending pro-life events and so forth. But when you go to the actual Rally for Life and when you go to the March for Life, I would say 80 to 90% of all of the participants are under 30. So we're talking a huge teenage crowd, huge amount of teenagers, possibly 40 to 50% teenagers, high schoolers. And then you have probably the rest of that segment, college students and 20-something. So you have a massive amount of high school students and you have a massive amount of college students. And then you have the rest in their 20s. There may be young adults working in the field or doing whatever in their careers, young families. And so the massive amounts of people at the rally and the March for Life were under 30 years old. I was surprised. I kind of felt old because I'm over 30. So I was shocked. I didn't realize that. I mean, I think if I had looked at the film footage and looked at the pictures of past rallies for life, I could have realized, hey, this is actually a very young person event. Now, you wouldn't get that from the speakers. Now, the speakers were not under 30 usually. There were a few younger people. I think there was a teenager, there was a girl under 20, and then there were some people in their 20s, maybe a couple that spoke. But most of the speakers on the platform, of course, were in their middle ages. The typical pro-life profile that you think of, those were the speakers, but the actual march and rally participants, they were usually 30-something, and the profile was under 30. So that was a really shocking thing. It woke me up. Now, there was mention of that at the rally when I was there, and I think they did mention that at the 2018, this year's rally, where they said, I think Paul Ryan, this year's rally, 2018, made a comment about how he was amazed at all the young people, and that's the vigor and the youth of this movement, and that's the future of the movement. And there are all kinds of positive reasons for this to be a good thing. There are some negative reasons that came into my mind, questions actually more than anything, not necessarily negatives, but I had questions about this. I thought, well, do these young people, do these teenagers, do these high school students, do these college students, do these 20-somethings, do they really have strong convictions that abortion is wrong and needs to be stopped? Or are they going along with the excitement that they are a part of if they happen to be at a Christian college or if they happen to be at a Christian high school or grade school? Are they just going along because they had an opportunity to go to Washington for the March for Life, and they decided to go on the field trip, and they're excited about that, and this is something new and they've never done before, and wow, they bring their youth and enthusiasm because, as teenagers and young people, young people bring enthusiasm wherever they go. I mean, they could go to a tractor pull, and all of a sudden there's youth and enthusiasm, and they're excited about this because it's something they've never seen before. So the March for Life, all these people out there, teenagers all excited, young people all excited. My question is that conviction heartfelt? Is it deep? And will it last on into adulthood? In other words, how deep is that pro-life conviction, or is it surface deep? Will many of these teenagers and 20-somethings still have the conviction that life must be defended? And where does their conviction come from? Does it come from God, that we're all created in the image of God, or does it just come from their environment, whatever it is? Now, speaking of environments, another thing I was shocked to realize is that I would say probably 75% of the pro-life rally speakers and participants in the crowd, in the rally, in the march, I would say 75%, probably 60 to 75%, probably 75%, I would guess, are Roman Catholic. And I didn't realize that the Roman Catholic Church is so dominant in the pro-life movement. That's not to say that it's all pro-life Catholics there. There were many pro-life Protestants there. There were many pro-life Protestant speakers on the platform. I saw different pro-life Protestant churches and youth groups from different Baptist churches and different other types of churches, evangelical mostly. I have to say that most of the pro-life energy in Protestantism comes from evangelical churches. Of course, the liberal mainline denominational churches are not pro-life. In fact, they are actually pro-death. They're pro-abortion. They actually are in favor of continuing the Roe v. Wade decision and continuing abortion on demand. So you have, the United Methodist Church, for example, as a denomination, it's probably more pro-choice than anything resembling pro-life. The same way with the Lutherans. Most of the Lutherans in this country, outside of the smaller pockets like the Missouri Synod Lutherans or Wisconsin Synod Lutherans, but the big ECLA, Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, is solidly pro-abortion, sadly enough. In the same way with the Episcopal Church is solidly pro-abortion. And so all these mainline churches, you're not going to find their people at the rally, except maybe pockets, little examples here and there, exceptions to the rule. Yes, there are pro-life Anglicans, Episcopalians, there are pro-life Lutherans, there are pro-life Methodists, but they're not going to be very visible, and they're going to be few and far between when you see these. It's going to be mostly evangelical churches, Bible churches, Southern Baptist conventions, charismatics, your Church of the Nazarene, all these kinds of churches you're going to see there with their little youth groups and pro-life groups from there. But the dominant group that by far outweighs any other group in the March for Life and the Rally for Life is the Roman Catholic Church. And this is due because the Roman Catholic Church was the first religious body to actually publicly hold to the pro-life position, and they have been the most steady denomination that holds to the pro-life position. Officially, now if you talk to some of the priests and you talk to many of the people in the pews in the Roman Catholic Church, they are not pro-life. In fact, it's about maybe 50-50 among Catholics. You might find, if you poll 100 Catholics, you might find 50 of them are pro-life, 50 of them are against. So you might find you would definitely find that most of the people at the rally are Roman Catholic. That was interesting to me. So I also noted that people would come even if it's really cold, and people were coming even they brought their children to come along and tucked in the children and got everyone together. The whole families would come, and it was mostly a very positive atmosphere. It was enthusiastic. It was positive. One of the things that struck me that I didn't see, and I wonder about, is that it was very enthusiastic. It was very exciting. It was very positive. I didn't get any sense of somberness. I didn't get any sense of reflection. I didn't get any sense of sort of a seriousness to what was taking place. I didn't get any sense of sort of a gravitas, that this is very important. We're here to protest the killing of unborn babies, that children, babies, the unborn are being murdered at a rate of 1.5 times a million a year. I didn't hear any of the sense of the weight of the crime that's being committed. It was all sort of a pep rally, and I wasn't quite sure what to make of that. Now, that might be because of the nature of the crowd. Like I said, 90% under 30, a big, huge chunk of teenagers, college students. It was more of a pep rally. It was more of a rah-rah, we're going to win. It was sort of a rousing people, getting them excited. But I didn't get any sense of anyone, actually, even a speaker, putting it in perspective of, hey, we are here because of a crime being committed. We are here because of atrocities being committed. We're here to protest something that is worse than the Holocaust of World War II. Because in that tragedy, 5 to 6 million members of the Jewish faith died in the concentration camps. Here, we're protesting 60 million unborn children killed by their own mother, by the abortionists. We are here to protest a terrible, awful crime. I didn't get a sense that there was any of that deep gravitas that you normally get when you are talking about this subject. I know when there's a discussion, when there is, for example, a debate that takes place on television or radio, when there's a pro-abortion person versus a pro-life person, and they're talking about this, and the pro-life person is defending life, there is usually a seriousness about it. There is usually a righteous indignation or righteous anger that goes along with the presentation. Well, that was not there at the Rally for Life. That was not there at the March for Life. It was more of some kind of a pep rally, which I think the organizers could do better in trying to educate and communicate to people there that, hey, we are here and we want to be positive, but we also want to look at the reality of the situation. We want to be serious too. We want to be seriously committed to the end of abortion, and we want to be seriously convicted to end abortion. So I think there needs to be some kind of a balance on that, and there needs to be some kind of understanding that it's not just a matter of rallying the troops. It's a matter of educating them in the proper mood. So these are just a few of my observations and thoughts as I look at the 2018 March for Life, reflecting on my experience at the 2017 March for Life. And I hope and encourage all of you to go and attend a March for Life. be a part of the cause. And I pray that that will happen in the next few years. We need to continue to hold our president to his promises and pray that God uses these Supreme Court nominees and justices to reverse Roe v. Wade in the long term. Well, thank you for watching. We'll see you back on another program of Christian Answers. God bless.
Hi everyone, Ascension Presents is here in Washington, D.C. for the March for Life. We're here to find out where everybody is from and what they're doing at home to promote the pro-life movement.
We're from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Long Island.
Baltimore.
Sterling, Virginia. South Bend, Indiana.
Tallahassee.
From Atlanta, Georgia.
Thomas More College from Northern Kentucky.
Awesome, and why'd you come down to the march today?
Well, when I was conceived, my dad wanted my mom to get an abortion, and she stood up against it and said no, so that's why I'm here.
I mean, just hearing her story and everything, like imagining my life without her would be, I don't know, unthinkable, but and just defending the defenseless is just something that's very important to me.
Life starts from the very beginning, from conception. And if you can't defend life at its earliest state, at its most precious state, defenseless state, then you can't defend life at all. You're not supporting life at all.
There are all these women who believe that abortion is their only choice when there are so many other options that could help prevent that loss of life.
When I was 18 years old, I was in high school, and I was pregnant 3 months, and I wasn't gonna have the baby, and my mom wanted to support me, so she went with me to the abortion clinic on Roosevelt in Queens, and I was waiting there, and while I was waiting there, I saw the women there with their robes, their pink robes, and they were very sad. So at that time, I just got depressed in the moment, and I just started thinking, and I guess I started praying, asking for signs, and in my mind, it just came to me. I think it was God, you know. He was like, "Go look at your sonogram." And when I saw the picture, it was a picture of a baby at 3 months, and she had legs, she had a big head, and the arms. And in an instant, I asked the lady, I said, "Did you know that it was a baby?" At first, I was like, "It's a baby," you know, and because many people told me that it was a glob of tissue, and I was already 3 months, and I was only 18, and it's not fair, you know. But here's my daughter, she's 10, and God's been with me. I have her in Immaculate Conception School, and when she was 3, I met Christ, and that's when God revealed to me that He had saved my child through the prayers of people and the pro-life movement.
Part of it really comes down to in Christian, and that's that the very start of the Gospels deals with the Annunciation, or if it's John's chapter, it's the Word made flesh, chapter 1, and really it all comes down to life. If you don't have life, you have nothing else.
We just really believe that Jesus calls us to have a generation of life where we respect life in all its forms, from natural birth to natural death.
Fantastic. And is there anything you guys do at home to promote the pro-life movement?
Yes, we actually just started a pro-life club, so we've done various work with charities, and
We had a baby shower for an expecting student, and she's due this semester. She's actually due next month.
One of the main things that we love to get involved in is spearheaded by the Sisters of Life, a prayer vigil outside Planned Parenthood in New York City.
Well, we have a group called Keep Infants with Down Syndrome, or KIDS. We meet every year at National Right to Life office before coming to the march. We do that to support the unborn babies with Down syndrome in the womb, and as you know, there's a high abortion rate of them. So it's very important for us to kind of just raise that awareness and support them.
we think everybody deserves life, and we think it's a great cause.
Because I think we can really make a change in our generation.
Just the march itself is like the American pilgrimage.